Welcome everyone to the latest edition of Lone Star Spirit. I know it's been going on a little bit over a couple of weeks since the last upload. There's just been a whole lot of things going on, a lot of irons in the fire trying to get things situated. So I will apologize for the delay in uploading. But what I've decided to do for this particular episode is combine 3 storms into one episode. So we're going to be looking at the 1932 Freeport hurricane. We're going to be looking at Hurricane Alicia and Tropical Storm Allison. And one thing that you will hopefully notice throughout these 3 storms is the area of landfall. It was either in Brazoria County or in southern Galveston County. And I found that to be quite interesting when doing the research on these 3 storms. And one other thing that I feel is very important to talk about is you do have what is called a clean or a wet side and a dirty side of a hurricane. Now let's talk about what is considered to be the wet side of a hurricane, and that is widely considered to be the left side of a hurricane. And how do you figure out what this is? And typically there are 4 quadrants in a hurricane. You just basically draw across through the center or the eye of the storm, and you'll get your left, right, up, north and south sections of the storm. So typically that left side is going to have a lot more rain associated with it. So that's going to be considered the wet side. Now, there's also an area called the dirty side, and that is going to be on the right side of these storms. More specifically, it's going to be the upper right quadrant. So it's going to be, if you're looking directly on top of a hurricane, it is going to be, I would maybe say, the northeast section of a hurricane is going to be your dirty side. You're going to have much bigger storm surge. There's also a lot more winds associated with it, and there is a increased chance of tornadoes associated with that right upper quadrant of any hurricane. And I felt that was something we needed to discuss, because I've always thought that the wet side was the dirty side, and it's not. And just so you know what to look for when these hurricanes start coming into your area, whether you're along the Gulf Coast or on the eastern seaboard, Florida, all the way up to New York and Maine, hurricanes can hit anywhere along that area and anywhere along the Gulf Coast, and very seldom they do get some on the left side of the nation over there, California, Mexico, that western Mexico border. But typically, most of the hurricanes that we're going to see are going to be in the upper Atlantic, or the MDR is what we like to call that area. So we're going to look at a couple of these storms and just learn as much as we can about these storms. Now, the first one we're going to look at is going to be the Freeport storm of 1932. And if you were to go to the National Hurricane Center's website and try to look up this storm, it's going to be unnamed storm 1932. So just so you know what you'll be looking at. So let's go ahead and look at this storm. The the storm basically started off as an area of disturbed weather. It was around the Belize and Honduras area, and this was originally seen on the 10th of August. And this system moved more in a kind of a northwesterly direction across the Gulf of Mexico and really intensified in strength maybe a day prior to landfall. And there were reports from ships out in the Gulf of Mexico that radioed in a barometric pressure of 28.88 inches. And this was on the morning of the 13th of August. And the center of the hurricane actually made landfall just slightly east of present-day Freeport. Really, a lot of times people will refer to this particular storm as the Velasco hurricane, because at one time there were two cities. You had Freeport and Velasco. So if you hear it referred to as the Velasco hurricane, they're not incorrect. And Velasco did sit just east of Freeport. And they, of course, had heavy rainfall. And this particular storm was really, really, really compact. So there was a lot of low pressure associated with this particular hurricane, and you really don't hear about it too much in any kind of history books or storm history or anything like that. It's almost like it's a forgotten storm. And not only did it affect the humans in the area, the people of the area, apparently 800 birds died or perished in all of the heavy rain that associated with this storm in the town of Wharton. So that was kind of odd thing to to read about. The system, once it made landfall, did move into Oklahoma. They had over 12 inches of rain that fell just in Oklahoma, and unfortunately, 40 people lost their lives in Brazoria County due to this storm, and damage that was associated with the dollar figure was around $7.5 million. And you can see that I do have a little bit of a map there that shows basically the track and everything like that when it comes to the Freeport hurricane. There's this first one that we're going to look at. Just shows how you can see it comes right off of the Yucatan Peninsula and just goes right into the upper Texas Gulf Coast. Again, right there just east of Freeport. And then we've got a little bit closer view here, and you can see it's right there by Lake Jackson. The eye of this hurricane actually passed over what is now East Columbia and did a lot of damage. A lot of rain was associated with this particular storm. And just a little bit closer view, you can see there's Freeport right there, Lake Jackson, and there's your unnamed 1932 storm. And right there, just not quite to San Luis Pass, there when you that basically marks the boundary of Brazoria County and Galveston County. But you can see that this storm, it's really not even listed as one of the historical storms on the National Hurricane Center's website. Of course, it does have a disclaimer that it's not a exhaustive list of significant storms, but if you just put in unnamed 1932, do a little bit of looking, you can actually find information on this particular storm. Now, not a lot on that one simply because this is 1932 when this hit. There was not a lot of, we didn't have satellite imagery. We had weather stations and things of that nature at that time. But since it's called the Freeport hurricane or the Velasco hurricane, being born in Freeport, Texas, it is kind of close to me. So I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on that one and let you know as much as I know about it. Now, Alicia, this was a hurricane from 1983. And I can remember my mother talking about Alicia. I was 10 years old at the time. And this was just from all, and I can't remember. I think we were actually living in the Abilene area at the time. But I don't remember anything about Hurricane Alicia. But Alicia was a storm that formed really not far from land in the Gulf of Mexico, and just really moved slowly. It kind of just drifted more or less, and steadily gained strength and hit basically the western end of Galveston Island as a Category 3 hurricane on the 18th of August, and just did insane amounts of damage for this type of hurricane. Sustained winds 94 miles an hour with wind gusts up to 107 miles an hour. And this had just amazing amounts of rain associated with it. There was a lot of flooding in the area, and along with all of the rain, the high winds, and just the dangerous conditions, apparently there were 23 tornadoes that had spawned from Alicia. And that's another thing that a lot of people kind of don't think about with hurricanes is not only do you have the storm surge and the downpours, hail, high winds, high straight line winds, you also have the possibility, as I mentioned about the dirty side of the hurricane, you do have the chance, possibility, high possibility of tornadoes forming inside of the hurricane complex, which just complicates things even more. So it's like you're getting almost a combination. If you're standing in the ring with someone like Mike Tyson, it's going to be jab, jab, uppercut, right hook, and it's devastating. So with the storm surge, high speed, straight line winds, rain, hail, throw tornadoes into the mix, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So that's another reason that it's very important that if a hurricane is forecasted for your area, get the heck out of Dodge. This is not time to dilly-dally around and not take these things seriously. Even a Category 2, Category 1, or even a very strong tropical storm can lead to, unfortunately, loss of life and loss of property. And this was this storm was rather powerful for a Category 3 storm, and again moved into Oklahoma and dropped a whole lot of rain over the Oklahoma, and finally dissipated over Nebraska a few days later. Now, this next storm that I'm going to talk about is a tropical storm. And this storm is just absolutely insane when it comes to the total amount of rain and the track of this storm. And that's what we're going to look at first, is we're going to look at the track of Allison. And right here, you've got Allison that, again, formed very close to the Texas coast. And as you can see, it goes up around, looks like around the Lufkin area northerly, and then goes south, then goes southwest, and then goes south again back into the Gulf, and then makes a right-hand turn and goes into Louisiana, affecting Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and all around the mid-Atlantic states there, and then turns into an extra tropical weather system there. But that's this. I'd never seen a tropical storm or a hurricane or any kind of weather, thunderstorm, whatever it is, kind of do it. I've seen some pictures of this. It actually looks kind of like a musical cleft a little bit, but this was just an amazing thing. And you really didn't have to worry about too much about the rain or the wind, estimated wind, or the wind that was recorded. You're looking at 35 to 40, 45 miles an hour, which if you're in, say, around the Abilene area, big country area in West Texas, San Angelo, Midland, Odessa, on into El Paso, during the spring, a 40-mile-an-hour wind is a common occurrence. What sets Allison apart from a lot of other storms that have hit the Texas Gulf Coast are the rainfall totals. And with the rainfall totals, there's a map here that kind of shows you how much rainfall. And we're looking at anywhere from there around the Houston area in north, and you can see where it kind of looks like a musical cleft right there. But there are areas right there in what looks to be downtown Houston where it looks like there's 25 to 29 inches of rain, and depending on how close we get to it, there's actually little small areas in there that it could be 30 to 34 inches of rain. And this is over a 4-day period. This is how long that Allison kind of just hung around the area right there, and then went on and went back into the Gulf, came in the western part of the southern Gulf Coast of Louisiana, and then went on up into Mississippi, Alabama, affected the panhandle of Florida, and then on up into Georgia and the Carolinas. So this was just an insane tropical storm with Allison, and I'll also put the tracking on Allison up here as well, just so you can kind of see. And the tracking with the green, blue, red dots is from the National Hurricane Center. They do have their interactive maps, and I do appreciate them putting that information out for us weather nerds that just feel like we don't get enough information from our local media, local news stations. We would like to get a little bit more information and look up the history of these storms. Now, unfortunately, Hurricane Harvey is not in that list quite yet. I'm sure they're still getting all kinds of data and things like that. Hurricane Harvey was really wasn't that long ago, but hopefully sooner rather than later, that information will be up and ready to view. So this one is going to be a little bit shorter episode, and I hope that hope I haven't really upset anyone for not having more of these out over the past 2 weeks. I apologize for that. That is, I'll take full responsibility for that. Just got a little overwhelmed with the daily activities and things that I'm having to take care of. But I'm going to try to continue to put these episodes out as best I can. Couple of things, if you will notice at the very bottom of the screen right now. I know it's a lot of people think it's an antiquated system, but I've always had a fascination with CB radios, and I've always wanted to get my ham license and be able to talk to people while I'm traveling and not have my hand on a cell phone or have to rely on cell phone towers or anything like that. So I do have a small CB in my car. Yes, my car does look a little bit with like a an RC car with that long antenna on the trunk, but you know what? I really don't care. So I'll do my best to keep everyone abreast of when I will be out traveling, going to different areas, things like that. So if you have a CB and I'm going to be in your area, you can find me. Just ask for Little Rage. I will have my CB on channels 18 or 36. Pretty interesting. There, I chose that on purpose, channels 18 and 36. So if you're a CB user and want to chat, feel free to reach out. And if you are a viewer and you see me in your area, please feel free to come up and chat with me. I do like meeting new people. I do consider myself a people person. And if you have ideas or just want to talk for a few minutes, I am more than happy to talk to anyone who has been supportive of this channel. That's going to wrap it up for this particular episode. Once again, thank everyone for sticking with me, subscribing, watching on YouTube, watching on Rumble. I appreciate it more than you know. And until next time, I'm Charles. This is Lone Star Spirit. Everybody have a great week.